Hi, it's 3 minutes to more for 8 p.m. Uh, I'm Abhilash, so would start in another 3 minutes. I was just trying to test uh, the Zoom to YouTube and all that. While this is a Zoom session going on, and you have the link in the description if you want to be in the Zoom session. But that wouldn't be any different than YouTube. And only thing is about being interactive. So the once I complete my today's session, we can be interactive. You can be a part of the Zoom room. The links are there in the YouTube description. But another thing is because this is for candidates who are appearing interview in this year. If your schedules are there in the next week onwards, and you are still feeling little perturbed, like because it usually it happens like that, that you didn't have much time. People who have interview scheduled later would have more time. So let me be very clear. It doesn't matter by that. What matters is your mental preparedness, and there is no such session or no such thing which has a guarantee to say that with this your preparation is complete. It's a moment, and it's a kind of trigger which can happen, and that is what these sessions are towards. What is the kind of thought is, one is about interview. We talk a little bit about the interview and the experiences, some common do's and don'ts which I'm sure you would be aware. And second is about the current affair, which is what is the reason or the conversation topics. So there we can have your run your brain through and be your original and things like that. So here we'll talk on that. So I think another 30 second and we start live. And I'll parallelly record this session as well. And if you have any doubts, anything, you have all the details in the description of YouTube. And you can just reach out to me rather than just assuming thing. Use WhatsApp. It'll be much faster. And I'll there respond. So we'll start in another 30 seconds. Hi, very good evening to all. Today is 17th January 2025, and it's now been 10 days when the UPSC interview for this year has started. So definitely there are various groups, various Telegram groups where the candidates who have had the experience of going through the board are sharing their transcript, are sharing their experiences. मेनी टाइम्स व्हाट हैपेंस इज जब हम किसी का शेयर सुनते हैं कि उन्होंने कैसा किया या जो भी उनका ट्रांसक्रिप्ट स्पेशली जब देखते हैं, तो इट काइंड ऑफ क्रिएट्स इन द माइंड दैट क्या भी पूछ रहे हैं यार, कुछ भी पूछ रहे हैं, हाउ इज दिस हैपनिंग, स्पेशली व्हेन यू हैव नॉट इवन गिवन वंस, आप रिपीटर नहीं हो और आप पहली बार जा रहे हो. द यूपीएससी का जो आईएएस का इंटरव्यू का दर्जा बहुत हाई होता है. Within us, we expect the IAS interview to be a very, very topmost thing. And in fact, let me tell you, it is. It is because the kind of competition and the kind of time period you have given for this, and the kind of the role which this job demands. अगर उसमें ऐसा इंटरव्यू ना हो तो फिर आप अपना पूरा करियर कैसे सिविल सर्वेंट बनेंगे. You have to feel like a achiever in that sense. But coming back to the point that कि अभी जो स्पेशली 10 days हो चुके हैं and there's a load of information. कई कई जो है जिनका इंटरव्यू हो जाता है, they come and explain you ऐसा हुआ वैसा हुआ वगैरह. ये बात हमें हमेशा जाननी चाहिए कि whenever you interact with anyone, that moment will be very, very unique to you only. It cannot be repetitive. It is unlike एक जोक हुआ करता था कि दोनों दोस्त साथ साथ चलते थे हर क्लास में, तो पहला वाला जो सवाल दिखता था उसको वही वो आंसर याद कर लेता था, तो पहला वाला जब जाता था तो वो क्वेश्चंस सेम रिपीट होते थे, तो ये जाके सेकंड वाले को बोल देता कि भाई तो पहले का आंसर ये है, दूसरे का आंसर ये, तीसरे का आंसर ये, वो जाके वैसे बोल देता और वो पास हो जाता। ये रियल लाइफ में नहीं होता, ये जोक। तो ऐसे अगर आप ट्रांसक्रिप्ट पढ़ोगे कि मेरे साथ भी ऐसा होगा कि मुझे भी ऐसा पूछेंगे, ऐसा नहीं होता। योर मोमेंट इज वेरी यूनिक टू योर सेल्फ। अगर आप अपने आप को फ्लेक्सिबल रखोगे इन दिस सिचुएशन, you will have or you will enjoy that particular moment very very well. What happens is when we repeat, when we are going, second time when we are going, or third time, or maybe your last time, the aspiration or the responsibility which you have in your brain or your mind is too high. अगर आप उसको ease out कर सकते हैं, if you can ease out that, only then you will feel that you are enjoying that particular discussion or conversation. But the moment you go over there and you think like, oh, 275 marks ka hai, I need to score more than 200 plus, I should be scoring 190 to 270, 200 marks, may I have got this thing, I have to improve upon this, that. If you go with that mindset inside the board interview room, let me tell you, आपने पहले ही, you have actually, you have your confidence, you have broken yourself only. Don't go with any such load. Let that particular day, that particular moment be unique to that, that day, that particular तारीख जो है आपको मिली है of interview. No matter what you have prepared, what it is, nothing as such. Preparation doesn't end. It is about you as a person who can handle this any situation. You as a person who can express his or her thought. You as a person who can understand from the senior members of the board what they are trying to tell you, convene you, and and really one more thought or the way of looking at is how you can make them comfortable that you would be the right choice to be in that other zone, qualified zone. It's very simple. Even they are wanting to help you. It is not that they are the kind of जिसके साथ प्रेशर इंटरव्यू हो जाता है वो आके बोलते हैं बहुत सवाल पूछ रहे हैं, it's very tough, I had a very bad experience, they asked me on this, they asked me that. So what we assume is we do not hear the part of the board, we only hear the part of the candidate. And the best part is in जितने भी सालों में यूपीएससी इंटरव्यू हुआ है, except that one interview which is there in video recorded in YouTube, there's no other place where you can actually know what the board has done, except आप transcript पढ़ते हो, but you do not know the tone in which it was asked, you do not know what was the context on which this conversation started, and we are only relying on the source as a candidate जिसके साथ जो हुआ है. तो that way is what happens is I'm trying to say कि सबका अपना यूनिक एक्सपीरियंस होता है and वो आपके साथ भी होगा. Coming to today's session, for example, how what I am doing here is every week on Friday morning, Friday evening 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. I'm going to summarize. One part is a little bit about the interview readiness, especially for the candidates जिनका इंटरव्यू मंडे ट्यूसडे होगा, और especially also for the people who are watching getting ready for the interview, who gear up हो रहे हैं, एक सेशन करंट अफेयर्स का भी होगा, and that I've called as perspective matters. So I've shared the handout and the link to handout in the description. So this is something for you to read through and run your mind. And how we are going to do is also, it actually completely depends on your DAF, how your conversation starts. बाकी हम कोशिश करें that you are ready to face any kind of scenario. That's the only effort. So with this, my first talk is about certain do's and don'ts about this interview preparation. Firstly, if you are a repeater, अगर आपने पिछले बार भी इंटरव्यू दिया था, हिंदी मीडियम में दिया हो, इंग्लिश मीडियम में दिया हो, अपने लैंग्वेज में दिया हो, you need to recall exactly what all went through, what was your state of mind, what was the board, and everything about that particular day. Okay, and exactly where or what went, whatever is your mark. You might have got a good mark, so your interview went bad, but your mains would have not been enough, or you might have got a bad mark in interview. Maybe that day wasn't great for you, but क्या हुआ था? You need to answer yourself for that. What exactly went wrong? If you feel that you could not answer 1-2 questions, that led to a poor performance, then let me tell you, do not analyze that way. Here, your answer might be, uh, you know, uh, you might have given two, three wrong answers, but the way you handle that scenario is what matters. Many times we try to bluff, we try to show the stronger side. There are certain quotes when they say, when you cannot make it, then fake it, and all that. Many things come in that time during that particular moment. और हमें लगता है हमने बड़े अच्छे तरीके से स्मार्टली हैंडल कर लिया. But there are board members who are experienced more than your age, and they have seen multiple people, and every day they say candidate, या यूपीएससी आईएएस का हो या कंबाइंड मेडिकल सर्विस का हो या कोई भी यूपीएससी, every their board members work is to do interviews, and they are seeing multiple candidates. They immediately catch that key, what he's bluffing or she's bluffing, or there's a gap in the knowledge or something like that. I'm not saying to make your interview as a confession box, but to smartly handle that scenario, maybe a silent works in favor. Maximum time, what happens if you analyze, when the interview is in a silence mode, there is nobody speaking. That is where the rarity, your own character comes out. Many times you answer, you do not know where to stop. When will I stop? And you're continuously talking, assuming that the other person will stop you. And it doesn't happen. So what happens? You have not thought through your brain, and you are framing some or other questions, answers, or just you are talking. And the moment you suddenly stop, you realize nobody's talking anything, and your brain goes back analyzing whatever you spoke. The moment that situation happens in an interview room, you are going to have a bad performance. Why? Because while the other board member are thinking forward that how they are going to ask the next question, your mind is thinking, what have I said? Did I miss out some point? Should I correct it? Like that. तो ये अगर आपके साथ हो जाता है तो you will have a performance issue. And more of it when we have, as we go along, I'll discuss like that. Because ऐसा नहीं, I'm not talking generic. This is something psychologists say, and this is what happens not just in IAS interview, but any one-on-one interview, or in fact, many a time, any formal occasion, these things happen. What are the other rules? Current affair. See, the interview notification, if you read, there itself they say that they're looking for a person who is updated about current event of national and international importance around him or her, like that. Something is written like that. Current affair is basically if you are going to be in the public service, as a public servant for as a career, you need to be aware of what is happening. You need to know what is relevant, what is not relevant, especially in the context. Today, when we are talking about, say, you are at the age of entry level. So for you, what India's progress in that level, India's relations, India's science and technology, these are all important. But when you are when you are a professional or you're working as a public servant, the location you are in, for example, the district you are responsible for, the ministry you are responsible for, the all things around that will make you more what is happening in that particular domain in, say, Brazil, can it happen in India? Like these kind of things will become important. So your eyes and your this thing has to be open. Then certain doors are like having feedback from mentors and previous candidate. You interact, you find very easy to understand that somebody is able to help you and is able to connect with you. Now, people who are repeating, I would suggest that if you are not confident about what happened last time, you should not repeat your own strategy this time. Try to think from a different perspective. Try to, because it's already been a year or two, things would have changed, times have changed, conditions would have changed. How you mature up to that situation. Then don't build up negative mindset and things which are not on your control. You do not start blaming or labeling yourself to that. This is natural. Don't become a loner in such a way that You feel that aloof, out of not, in sync or out of sync of what is the world is happening around, and your mental health and emotional well-being. This is very, very crucial. Imagine one exam, if it is going to impact you in such way, then how the entire life career will be. So your strength of becoming good fit for that particular job, that is a civil servant, is actually shown during this time where when you are able to take care of your own mental health and emotional well. So these are certain things which I would say is very important. I'll do that. Now I mentioned here about mentoring also. So there are some final tips which I would say as for today's session. Try to talk about these things. Assure yourself that you will be authentic, you will be honest, and you'll be genuine in your response. Let your real side come out. Don't shy or don't feel uncomfortable. Don't try to outsmart the board. You will hear stories from many successful candidates, the way they outsmarted the board. एक आध में हो जाता है. It happens. It's human. But if you think you are not able to do that and you try that, you miss out on a attempt. So be very, very convinced on what you are trying to do. Staying the way you are, your genuine self itself is very, very important. Because the DAF, the detailed application form, is something which is going to be with you and is your first introductory document. I would suggest the technique which I kind of mention here is डैफ में आपने जो भी कीवर्ड्स लिखे हैं उसके 100 वर्ड्स आप अपने आप तैयारी करके लिखें कि ये कीवर्ड सुनते ही क्या आपके मन में आता है. फॉर एग्जांपल, आप योर डिग्री इज इंजीनियरिंग डिग्री. Okay, you would have completed your electrical engineering, say 10 years, 5 years back, 6 years back. You would not even remember it. But you are an electrical engineer for life. They will ask you about power substation. They will ask you how this power transmission works. Why? Because you are an engineer. You remember it or you don't remember it is a separate thing. But these are certain things which clicks when you see those words in the DAF. Similarly, if it is written cricket, if it is written meditation, if it is written something like that. So what other things that can click? You have to write 100 words about around that. And be sure that, like you are aware about those 100 words, whatever you mentioned. और जैसे आपने वो वर्ड को देखा और आपके 100 वर्ड जो आए आपके दिमाग में, आपके उसके बारे में भी अच्छी तरह जानते. You can talk about it, express about it. The fourth thing I would say is integrate current affairs. जब भी आपका duration हो, you may not be watching this video live, you may watch it later or पता नहीं जैसे. I don't know if the message also reach you. It will reach you not just by me, but by anybody, any genuine soul. जब भी आपका interview, even in April, you have to see that your preparation is in line, you're aware about current affairs. And final is, stay calm and composed. Your situation, you need to be at that present, and then things will happen for you. So these are certain things. Apart from that, I would also like to talk about the one-to-one session that I do, personalized mentoring program, especially if you are trying to look out on a strategy and analyze on things which you have given a lot of mocks, you have got a lot of feedbacks, but you're unable to get through, how do we finalize things? So then, I kind of have designed a program where we talk about one-to-one sessions, understand every aspect of your DAF, do a little bit of your personality analysis, interview orientation. Obviously, this is also interview orientation, and current affair analysis which comes out from your DAF. So particularly your, everybody says if you are from Bihar, then this data about Bihar. So we'll discuss that. If about your region, if you're from Tamil Nadu, then data about Tamil Nadu, and then we'll discuss your opinion, things like that, which is not possible in a full uh, one single batch. I mean, in a EO transmission that you're already doing on your own. But the mentoring is for one-on-one discussion with me. and speak out session, something which is there in your heart and mind where you feel is creating blockage of thoughts of becoming your own self. We can discuss it out. And definitely, all this matters may not sound important, but at least at your age, it doesn't sound important. But mind you, some or other way, because there is a whole lot of expectations when this exam happens, whole lot of dreams when this exam is there, and you have there already in that particular stage, one step away. So it would be good if you want to put your heart and soul and have one-on-one with the session. Yes, there is a price to this program, but it will be only charged if your name comes in the final list. So it is not about, uh, uh, I wouldn't say there's no value to whatever effort we are going to put. There is, but yes, charging is up to me. But that will happen only when we see that your dream of being in the finalist is realized. So now we'll start with the second half of the session. What I would suggest is I have shared you the perspective matters sheet. If you can open up in your digital edition itself. In the meanwhile, I will just run through some of the top headlines in this last 5 to 6 days, Jan 10 to Jan 16, and I'll talk about little bit of around that. You what see? I will not talk what it was, what is the news about, but the handout has a little bit of follow-up questions where there is an opportunity to discuss and think around it. In a YouTube session, I would only run through from the top level, but one-on-one discussion definitely at the mentoring level. So Jan 10th to Jan 16th, and the top uh, news that kind of came up till 16th yesterday. One was Pravasi Bharatiya Divas, which was happening in Bhubaneswar, biggest congregation of human or celebration, that is Mahakumbh, and it is across the globe. This is not just an India news, but a news for the entire world. Then PM's podcast uh, with uh, Nikhil Kamath. Then there was a topic about linking voters' ID to Aadhaar card. And then there is the issue which is going on with Education Ministry of UGC and any implementing NEP across states. On the international front, China's dam project and what are its repercussions for India, Three Gorges Dam. A summit on AI which is going to happen on uh, February. And then the achievement of ISRO SpaceX, that is space docking system, where two space craft have come, docked very near to each other. Then a debate on or a process of selection for Central Election Commissioner. Israel and Hamas peace deal, which is in news internationally. And then the tunnel opening done by Prime Minister in Kashmir, the Zimor tunnel. Certain controversial issues which are being spoken and everybody's asked about this opinion is a 90 hours week in a recent debate where I have not named the person. It is obviously LNT chairman, but the debate is about of 90 hours or 70 hours with Narayan Murthy. And so these are certain things which were there on a very national level of use. How did I consider them as national level? Because there are a lot of other content providers, content maker also focused on these kind of topics. And there would be topics which are obviously आपके अपने region से, आपके अपने district से, आपके things around you, which will come from your DAF. For example, if you are say student of BCom or MBA or economics, a whole lot of discussion is being done on by IMF on India's rate of growth, and whole lot of discussion is being done on the budget which is going to come in February. So a whole lot of news item was there about it. So these things become a day-to-day conversation for candidates who have that kind of background. So I have not included it. So when we have a one-to-one session, definitely I'm going to talk about it. Something which is very important statistically are like this budget, rate of growth, and employability, employment ratio, all these things which we speak, which we see in news. How do we establish that this is a problem? This comes from a number. And that's exactly, oh, number yaad bhi nahi aata hai when it happens in the interview. Many times you only remember generic number, and it's now what you call, अगर याद आ गया तो बहुत अच्छी बात है, but they need to agree that that also is the right number, because there is cross questioning. Are you sure? Are you sure about this ratio? So you know, you can't fit on a number. If IMF says the rate of growth is this much and India says nee, we have calculated our rate of growth is such. So these are all controversial debates. So anyway, one side now I would suggest is to go through your, open up the perspective matters. I'll share that also on my screen, and also parallelly take you through the session. So let me just share my screen. Okay, now you have this handout. Uh, in the YouTube description itself, I have shared the links. In case you don't have the link for this, you can WhatsApp me. I'll share you on that. But let the session get over. So here, the way to approach this is, see, these are certain key topics which I mentioned over there. I have highlighted these points. These points, nobody is going to ask you to tell me what is Pravarti Bharati Divas. They're not going to ask on that. The moment they consider you as a profile, they are going to ask you that why is India organizing Pravasi Bharatiya Divas, and why? How much do you think is its relevance in the last how many years, whatever be the number of Pravasi Divas has happened? Then you have to run your brain and discuss that when it was started, history जो भी है उसकी, उससे कितना इंडिया इंटरनेशनल डायोस्फेरा स्ट्रॉन्ग फील हुआ, what has been the, this is something needs preparation. This I cannot tell you कि ये तरीके से हो. You will realize that lot of small island nations, Trinidad and Tobago and such small Fiji islands, they have come much closer to the uh, you know Indian, because they have a huge Indian diaspora. Every year you'll find the participation coming from that side as a huge. So that also shows that maybe as a part of foreign relation, maybe as a part of diaspora strengthening, this Pravasi Bharatiya Divas has allowed them to stay connected to their culture. So I have written certain points. This is not all the points, and nothing to hide. I have also taken the help of ChatGPT. But I would say this is not the way to look at it. The way to look at it is to run through your mind. And that is what I'm going to do when it comes to personal mentoring session. When we have one-on-one session, we will talk around multiple perspectives. But just to trigger your brain, I have given certain questions over here so that you can think, and I'm not binding you to join any sessions. आप अपने हिसाब से भी कर सकते हैं, आप आत्मनिर्भर बने, and you do it on your own. All the resources are there with you. That's what I'm trying to say. Similarly, the other concern, which is China's dam construction. Now, agar if you are you have Indian Foreign Services as your top profession, or you have take an optional, which is PSIR, Political Science and International Relation, you will see that these topic is where your conversation starts in the interview board, because this is something is a mutual part of Indo-China relationship, which is currently happening, and they will also going to talk about the past, that tell me how did Indo-China relations. Now you will say मैंने तो एग्जाम दिया था, सारा एग्जाम में तो पढ़ के गया था, but exactly they are not checking your how much you remember about Indo-China relation. They want to understand कि क्या आपने trend पकड़ा, what has happened decadal relation in every decade since India became independent, that today this is happening. Are we an actual enemy? Are we actually hand in hand together? Why do we have these kind of issues? What is the challenge with China's side? What is the challenge with India's side? And when it comes to dam, how do you think it is going to affect India? So there have been a lot of speakers, scientists who have spoken their thoughts on it. Maybe on the climatic impact, maybe on other impact which will happen in that particular geography because of the kind of the huge or the large Three Gorges Dam is. So, but if that is the case, should we also stop building dams of such level? Because even India is building dams. So you need to have a balanced view around it. Or if it is done in their own nation, it is a national issue, it is nothing to do with international issue. We shouldn't have concern. अगर आपके मन में ऐसे भी विचार है तो भी आप उसे कैसे बताएंगे, हाउ आर यू गोइंग टू टॉक अबाउट इट? दिस इज समथिंग व्हिच इज द हाउ डू यू फ्रेम योर ओन क्वेश्चंस आंसर, जो आपके मन जो आपसे आया है इन फ्रंट ऑफ द बोर्ड, दैट इज व्हाट इज इंपॉर्टेंट. और उसी से देखिए ट्रिगर करता है, एक एक चीजें शुरू हो जाती हैं. तो फॉर एग्जाम्पल आई ऑल्सो रेड दैट there was an article on various reforms in Ministry of External Affairs. अगर आप आईएफएस बनोगे तो आप समझ में आना चाहिए कि मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ एक्सटर्नल अफेयर्स कैसे ऑपरेट करती है इंडिया में. यू आर नॉट ट्रेन्ड येट, बट इट केम एज अ जेनेरिक न्यूज दैट की these are the kind of reforms which are required, or especially people who are working in MEA and have challenge in various, the official staff and their issues, and the kind of engagement level today India is having globally. The MEA staff is very less. What all other things should happen? So there have been experts who are speaking about it. Agar that is your area of career, then maybe, and there would be people, ambassadors sitting in the board, they would want to know it from you, whether you're aware about it. If you're aware, well and good. If you're not aware, then you can say, excuse me, that sir, I have a limited knowledge about it. But अगर आप aware हैं and you want to talk about it, then how are you going to talk about it? Is वही आपको differentiate कर देगा from the other people who are appearing in the interview. Then there was news about an AI summit which is happening in February, and especially engineers, आप computer engineer हो और जो भी हो, आपको पहला सवाल एआई पे आया मतलब इट हैज टू बी रिलेटेड टू द गवर्नेंस, एथिकल कंसिडरेशन एंड ऑल द लॉज एंड जो भी चैलेंजेस हैं उस पर वो बात होगी ही होगी. आपको अपना ओपिनियन देना पड़ेगा. यू नीड टू ऑल्सो हैव what other European nations are doing. You have to see that what are in the old cases of Google, things which are in news when it comes to AI. Controversial news also. Space docking, when it comes to space docking, Elon Musk का भी experiment साथ में आएगा. How it is different in India? Why is India trying to achieve it? You know, many information शायद से आपके पास अभी होगा भी नहीं, because even that is the kind of information which has been released is what we are going to make an opinion around. So you need to be also true about that. See, whatever I have read through, what happens is the moment you reach there, they ask you, are you aware about the top 10 headlines of this day? You will say, sir, मैंने पेपर नहीं पढ़ा. अच्छा, कल तो पढ़ा होगा, tell me yesterday's. Then you start remembering what you have read through. And वहां वो पकड़ेंगे चीज को. और आपको मतलब the thing is to impress, we also remember things, ऐसे अच्छी अच्छी बातें हैं. उसके आगे का हमें नहीं पता होता, तो हेडलाइन तो बोल दिया, उसके आगे वो उसको पकड़ लेंगे. हाँ बताओ भैया, what do you think about the space budget of India? कौन सा डिपार्टमेंट में? Suddenly you will feel blank, यार ये क्या पूछ लिया, मैं तो कुछ और सोच के आया था. So if you have such kind of mindset and going over there, again आपका conversation flow break हो जाएगा, वो वहाँ पकड़ में आ जाता है. इसलिए don't in that मतलब एक rigidness नहीं होना चाहिए. But anything can happen, and it, when this is the net practice we are doing as a cricketer or as a batsman, you should be ready to face every kind of ball. तो जो अच्छा बॉल उसे छोड़ देना भी एक अच्छे बैट्समैन की निशानी है. और बॉलर भी अच्छे होते हैं, बोल्ड भी कर देते हैं, अटेम्प्ट दूसरा भी देते हैं इसके लोग. तो इट इज नॉट दैट कि देयर इज ओनली वन थिंग, वन साइड ऑफ प्रिपरेशन. वो भी रेडी रहते हैं कि हाँ, दे आल्सो लाइक गुड conversation, if there is a good person who has come, well, having a good conversation. Anyway, the next topic which is also important is chief election commissioners selection. There has been certain discussion around it to change the pedagogy about it, because it's also a constitutional post and the reforms are around it. Many people, uh, while I have not put it on the part of constitutional and polity perspective, but when you prepare, you have to prepare from the polity perspective, because that is a part of India's democracy. Then comes PM's podcast, which happened with Nikhil Kamath, and definitely the podcast had multiple aspects to it, as a podcast should be. It should have certain thing to stay engaged for that particular 1 hour or whatever is the concern. So there was ups and downs, but one could realize those points that PM's vision, irrespective of this podcast or the action which he has been doing, has been meeting. So I'm not saying to that you can have your own criticism, but you need to have a certain background instances to tell about it. Now, PM was very smart. He was himself exempling his own concerns. If you have seen the podcast, so he spoke about Kuwait, his visit to Kuwait. He spoke about how he met the workers. And he also mentioned that these workers are already working, nothing to do with me. They have been working over there. But now they have an aspiration that India should have an international. When my district will have, some worker asked him that when my district will have international airport. I think Tuticorin or Tutikodi or somewhere like that, in that particular thing. So he was trying to say that how India's aspiration is increasing and how, as a governance, he is trying to build up that thing. A whole lot of thing happened if we talk of this 5 days. एक इंडिया का स्टार्टअप इंडिया के ऊपर भी बहुत बात हुई. Again, Prime Minister spoke about, not in that podcast, but in separate way, that how he wants the youngsters to contribute, how they should be a part of 1 lakh people to be part of politics. So many things are there. Now, question is, you need to think from your perspective that whether these things, whatever has spoken, is actually possible, feasible, or if it is not happening, why it is not happening. Because you yourself are youngster. And then what happens for us? What is your perspective? You are representing, say for example, you are coming from one district of Bihar, and you are also had your schooling over there and everything over there. So when you talk about your perspective, it has come, वो कैसे बना है, वो 15-17 साल जो आप वहां रहे हो उस माहौल में बना है. तो इसलिए आप बोलोगे नहीं सर, हमारे यहाँ तो ऐसा सोच ही नहीं होता, ये तो हम दिल्ली बम्बई में आके सब ऐसी बात करते हैं. बट अदरवाइज the way when you go back home it comes to the same thing. इसलिए 70 साल से वैसे का वैसा है वहां पे, आज भी वही है. So that's why even if we talk of lot of schemes, lot of aware, the first and foremost thing why the schemes do not get implemented, इसका ग्राउंड लेवल पे अवेयरनेस ही नहीं होता. आज भी वही है. There has been no schemes unique to this particular day जो नहीं हो पा रहा. तो फिर आप पूछ लेगा कौन सा स्कीम फलाना फलाना. This is how the conversation happened. But I'm just trying to build up कि आप अपना पर्सपेक्टिव कैसे बना सकते. देन आता है महाकुंभ. ना महाकुंभ में क्या है, मैंने बहुत सारे एज अ कम्युनिटी मैंने बहुत सारे क्वेश्चंस देखे हैं. लोग बहुत सारे पॉइंटर्स याद करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं कि ना 60 करोड़ लोग हैं, इतना रेवेन्यू होगा, ऐसा डेटा वाइज बहुत सारा बड़ा बड़ा नंबर्स है. अगर आपको याद रहता है तो बहुत अच्छी बात है. कितना घाट है, कितना ये एरिया है, कितना क्या बनाया है, कितना इन्वेस्ट है. अगर आप यूपी से हैं, मे बी फ्रॉम दैट पर्टिकुलर रीजन, तो बहुत अच्छी बात. इट्स अ प्लस पॉइंट, बट इट इज नॉट द नेसेसरी पॉइंट. The point is, a civil administration organizing an event of that stature हाउ इज दैट पॉसिबल? क्या वो आप अगर वहां के डिस्ट्रिक्ट कलेक्टर होते तो क्या आप कर पाते? अगर कर पाते तो एज अ सिचुएशन सिनेरियो आपको किन किन चीजों का ध्यान करना चाहिए? तो आप अब न्यूज को पढ़िए, वो बता रहे हैं फायर फाइटिंग, सेफ्टी, लॉस्ट एंड फाउंड, पानी, खाना, टॉयलेट, इलेक्ट्रिसिटी, रूम, ब्लैंकेट, वेस्ट मैनेजमेंट, पूरा एक शहर बना था, कैसे किस तरीके से हुआ, कितना टाइम लगा इसको प्रिपेयर करने में, हाउ मेनी ईयर मंथ्स ऑफ वर्क। इफ यू थिंक फ्रॉम दैट एस्पेक्ट, बिकॉज यू आर गोइंग टू बी एन एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर, आप जिस आज जो 10 साल पहले सेलेक्ट हुए होंगे वही वहां पे बैठ के कर रहे होंगे अभी, जो वहां पे ड्यूटी पे होंगे। तो हाउ आर यू गोइंग टू डू थिंग्स? हाउ इट इज गोइंग टू बी इजी कि भाई रोड कनेक्शन, रेलवे कनेक्शन, पार्किंग, लोगों का आना, फिर इस बीच में हमारे यहाँ तो दंगा मतलब चीजें खराब करने वालों का भी अलग होता है। हाउ यू मैनेज सिक्योरिटी, बहुत सारी चीजें आपको उसे प्रायोरिटी में सोचना है और वो न्यूज आइटम को पढ़ना है। उससे फिर आप समझ पाओगे हाँ ये बता रहा है न्यूज आइटम। बट इफ यू रीड द न्यूज आइटम जस्ट लाइक दैट, देन इट इज लाइक वाह वाह, इंडिया तो बहुत बड़ा, 70 करोड़ लोगों का पॉपुलेशन इंडिया, पूरा आधा इंडिया यूपी में जाके गंगा का पानी नहा रहा है। सबने भी अगर 10-10 ml पानी ले लिया तो 70 करोड़ इंटू 10 ml घर वापस लेके तो गंगा ही सूख जाएगा। मतलब ऐसा भी हो सकता है, कैलकुलेशन आप करो तो। बट द वे ऑफ लुकिंग एट प्रिपरेशन कि हमको उस तरीके से न्यूज आइटम को पकड़ना कि जैसे मैं हूँ एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर, मैं बनने वाला हूँ कलेक्टर, एंड आई हैव टू सी दैट दिस हैज टू बी ऑर्गेनाइज्ड। कब तक उसका ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, इवेंट खत्म हो गया सब भूल गए, ऐसे नहीं। लास्ट पर्सन जो जैसा भी है उनका सिस्टम वो फॉलो अप हो, किसी के पास कोई नुकसान नहीं हुआ, देयर शुड नॉट बी लॉसेस। नहीं तो कुंभ मेला तो आपको पता है बॉलीवुड ने तो बना ही रखा है कि कुंभ मेले में बिछड़े भाई, कुंभ मेले में सब हो जाते हैं। तो ये भी कुंभ मेला का एक सेकेंड साइड है। और अभी मैं वेट कर रहा हूँ, अभी तो सब अच्छा अच्छा आर्टिकल लिख रहे हैं। अभी 10 दिन और रुक जाइए, आएंगे आर्टिकल ऐसे जो बड़े ही, कितने मतलब लोग गुम हो गए, कितने लोग क्या हो गए, क्या चोरी हो गया, वो सारा भी न्यूज लेके बैठे होंगे। मतलब द थिंग इज एक ह्यूमन, इसमें ये सारी चीजें होती हैं। बट आप उसके एक्सटेंट को अवॉइड कर सकते हैं ना। एज एन एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर आपको वही देखना है कि डू आई हैव सच क्वालिटीज। जब कुंभ मेला की बात होती है तो फिर वो गंगा, अगर आप वेस्ट बंगाल से होंगे तो फिर वो गंगा महासागर का इवेंट के बारे में बात आएगा। या मकर संक्रांति में जहां पे भी जो भी बड़े बड़े इवेंट होते हैं, आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट पीपल हु आर जस्ट गोइंग टू अपीयर, जिनका अभी बाद में डेट होगा तो उस टाइम पे कुछ और चल रहा होगा, बट जस्ट दीज आर समथिंग टू हाईलाइट। तो यू बेसिकली एज एन एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर आपका रोल एज ऑर्गेनाइजर आ जाता है। तो you need to understand what will be the 10 priorities, situation question बोल देगा, you have to organize such thing, what will be your 10 priorities। इनफैक्ट कुछ सालों पहले एक ऐसा नाम था, ईद भी उसी दिन थी और दुर्गा पूजा भी उसी दिन था। दोनों तरफ से मतलब वेस्ट बंगाल में ऐसा सिचुएशन आने का लोग लग रहे थे, लोगों को लग रहा था कि लोग लड़ाई वड़ाई करेंगे, ऐसा टाइप का राइटिंग टाइप का होगा। बट द वे द एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर हैंडल्ड इट, कुछ नहीं हुआ। इट वाज द पावर ऑफ आवर डेमोक्रेसी, इट वाज अगेन कंसीडर्ड एज अ डेमोक्रेसी का पावर। ये तो हमारी सोच है, हमें लगता है कि लोग लड़ रहे हैं किसी से, बट ऐसा नहीं है। बोथ रिस्पेक्टेड ईच अदर रिलीजन्स टाइम, और कुछ उनका रीशेड्यूलिंग हुआ, कब उनको प्रोसेशन पे जाना था, आई डोंट रिकॉल एग्जैक्टली द इंसिडेंट, बट ऐसा कुछ हुआ था। सो एज एन एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर यू हैव टू बी ब्लाइंड टू एनी रिलीजन या जो भी वर्क है। यू सी परमिशंस आर गिवन, यू सी द सिक्योरिटीज आर देयर। एक सिटीजन को कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं होनी चाहिए अपना डेमोक्रेसी के हिसाब से अपने आप को एक्सप्रेस करते। तो ये सारी एक चीजें हैं। तो दिस इज व्हाट आल्सो हैपेंस व्हेन यू नो यू कैन हैव ए ग्रुप डिस्कशन विद पीपल हु आर अराउंड यू। थोड़ी सी ब्रेन मोर उसको इन्वेस्टिगेटिव वे ऑफ लुकिंग एट थिंग होता है। नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन वाज, नेक्स्ट अपडेट इज व्हिच इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, इज जी मोर टनल जो अभी ओपन हुआ है और JNK के प्रोग्रेस के लिए। एंड यू नो दीज आर सर्टेन थिंग्स which has stopped, halted the progress of such a beautiful state. And today when these tunnels are being opened, आप imagine करिए कि they will be connected throughout the year। नहीं तो हम बिकॉज ऑफ द विंटर सीजन वहाँ पे स्कूलिंग में चैलेंज है, वहाँ पे राशन पहुंचाने में चैलेंज है, सो मेनी थिंग्स आर चैलेंज एंड even if we say India is developing or developed or whatever, they do not feel because they do not get the part of that. But with tunnel like this, आज वो बच्चा टनल हो गया कि वो रेलवे लाइन कनेक्शन हो गया कि आज वो बच्चा सोच सकता है कि एवरीथिंग विच इंडिया इज डेवलपिंग मेरे पास भी वो मौजूद है। अब ऐसा कहा जाता है कि जैसे अगर आप, मैं एक छोटा सा एग्जांपल दूंगा, आप रिलेट कर पाएंगे। आप चाहे टायर 1 सिटी में हो या चाहे टायर 4 सिटी में, जब भी एक एक चॉकलेट हुआ करती थी बूमर, बिग बूम बूम बूमर पर भी च्युइंगम हुआ करता था, उसके साथ एक मिलता था टैटू कार्ड। वो टीवी में ऐड दिखाएंगे कि ये बूमर के साथ टैटू कार्ड है। आप शहर, आप टायर 1 में हो, टायर 4 में, आप रूरल इंडिया कहीं पे हो, हर जगह बूमर में आपको वो देगा। वो कैसे पहुंचता है? टीवी में ऐड आया और वहां पे आपके पास वाली दुकान में पहुंच रहा है। वो कभी ये नहीं बोलता नहीं यार, हम ना बहुत रूरल एरिया में ना, हमारे पास ये सब नहीं है। उस दुकान में लेकिन वो मिल रहा होगा, बिकॉज दे आर शेयरिंग द पार्ट ऑफ द इंडियाज इकोनॉमिक डेवलपमेंट। ये चीज मैं आपको एक सिंपल तरीके से समझाने की कोशिश कर रहा हूँ। यही चीज J&K कट ऑफ जो भी होते हैं उनको नहीं मिलता वो शेयर आउट। ये जो इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चरल डेवलपमेंट है, टनल से, रोड से, या वाटरवे जो भी बनाया था, इससे हम उनको कनेक्ट करते हैं ताकि देश का जो भी प्रगति जो दिल्ली में मिल रहा है वो वहां पे भी, दैट्स हाउ दे विल आल्सो फील कि हाँ, मेरे को भी इस देश का पार्ट का, मैं जा, आई एम नॉट टॉकिंग अबाउट J&K बट एनी पार्ट ऑफ द कंट्री फॉर दैट मैटर, दे विल फील यस, आई एम आल्सो पार्ट ऑफ दिस कंट्री एंड आई आल्सो गेट एवरीथिंग। हमारे यहाँ पे भी सब मिलता है। इनफैक्ट पिछले 15 साल में आप अगर आप आज जाए कोई भी टायर 2 टायर 3 सिटी में, वहां का आदमी भी बड़े प्राउडली बोलते हैं हमारे यहाँ भी सब मिलता है, अब दिल्ली बॉम्बे जाने की जरूरत ही नहीं। यहाँ पे भी जोमेटो है, यहाँ पे भी मिंत्रा है, यहाँ पे भी सब आता है, कोई पीछे नहीं रह गया। सो दैट इज द पार्ट ऑफ प्रोग्रेस विच वी आर टॉकिंग, जो हमें बताया जाता है। बट एनोमली क्या है, एक डेटा रिपोर्ट आ जाएगा, माल न्यूट्रिशन हेल्थ HDI इंडेक्स, जिसमें इंडिया पीछे होगा, तो बोले अरे यार कुछ नहीं हुआ इंडिया में, सब अभी भी गरीब है, भूख मर मरे हो। You need to understand these are two different parameters to understand economic progress. मैंने जिस तरीके से बात बोली वो है रीच, पहुंचने का, एक बिजनेस कंटिन्यूटी। जिस तरीके से एक रिपोर्ट आता है HDI का या कोई भी अदर रिपोर्ट जहाँ पे इंडिया का परफॉर्मेंस, वहां पे वो पूरे देश के 1.4 बिलियन के उसके हिसाब से देखते हैं। सो हमारा नंबर भी ज्यादा है, तो इसलिए भी मतलब the impact or these ranking system में हम लोग थोड़ी सी आगे पीछे हो जाते हैं, बट दैट डजंट मीन दैट कि प्रोग्रेस या डेवलपमेंट वहां हुआ नहीं। बट एनी विच वे, क्वेश्चन करने वाले क्वेश्चन कर सकते हैं एंड यू आल्सो हैव दोज रैंकिंग्स टू आंसर ओनली, कि पिछले साल से इस साल में कितना डिफरेंस हुआ, कि क्या हुआ। Anyway, now the next topic, which see we have another 10 minutes to do the session. I would rather want you to go through this topic, and आपको लगता है कि where you need any discussion as such, because I can tell you that मेरा the intention of this session is to run your mind, and otherwise I would welcome you to be part of the PMP session, personalized mentoring session. आपके डैफ के हिसाब से कौन सा आता है, वी कैन हैव a lot of discussion around it which will enrich your in particular this thing. But as of now मैं अगर हर चीज में बात करता रहूंगा, you will also feel कि हाँ ये भी तैयारी करनी, ये भी करनी, ये भी करनी, ये भी करनी, and then pile up of तैयारी हो जाएगी और फिर कुछ होता नहीं, तो वो भी नहीं करना है हमें। We have to see that we are very very strict to our own area of domain, जिस चीजें से आपका परिचय या पहचान हो। So I'll just go back to the uh, session I was taking and just quickly run through few of the slide decks information, and this I am sure that इसके और भी मैंने there is access to the previous ones also. You just run through, अपनी आंखें दौड़ाइए, I'm not saying each sentence has to be gone through, just run through it. जहां आपको लगता है you need to discuss, talk, you आप nearest friend से बात करिए, or in fact however you want to discuss, see that you build up the perspectives like that. मैंने रीजन ये है कि एक कन्वर्सेशन होने वाली है, जब एक बात होती है तो आपके पास भी असला बारूद होना चाहिए कुछ बोलने के लिए, और वो कुछ कोट्स होने चाहिए, कुछ चीजें होनी चाहिए, बिकॉज वो एक कन्वर्सेशन है। वो कन्फेशन बॉक्स नहीं है कि इंटरोगेशन नहीं होने वाला, बताओ मुझे ये क्यों नहीं किया, बताओ, ऐसे नहीं होने वाला। हम लेकिन डरे हुए ऐसे जाते जैसे मुझे घेर लेंगे, वाला वहां जाते ही पूछेंगे बता बेटा क्यों बताया तूने, ये क्यों नहीं पढ़ा, क्यों तेरे 10th में कम मार्क आए थे। ये सारी चीजें हमारे अंदर की गिल्ट होती है, और वहां पे उस तरीके से चीजें आपके कॉन्फिडेंस लेवल को आगे पीछे कर लेती है। तो जस्ट गिव मी 2 मिनट्स, आई गो बैक टू माय स्लाइड। Okay, so we were here, and this is about the first document is something which is with you, and this is for just discussion on the part of uh, the various news item. So, firstly, you are watching me on YouTube. All the links of how to reach me are there in the description, and do not hesitate. आपका कौन सा भी अटेम्प्ट हो, क्या है, इफ यू फील दैट यू नीड टू हैव अ कन्वर्सेशन, प्लीज just start with it. I'm not saying that कि कुछ बदल जाएगा, but कुछ ये तो पक्का होगा कि you will have a एक जो जो आपका ब्लॉक होता है एक माइंड, which can happen because of many reason, it will वो निकल सकता है। मैं नहीं कह सकता मैं ही कर दूंगा, कोई भी मेंटर हो who is there in this trying to help you out, they are trying to say their experience in that front. आप अगर किसी मेंटर का नॉलेज टेस्ट करके, जरूरी नहीं सबको आता, सब वही ऑनलाइन चैट जीपीटी और गूगल ही यूज कर रहे हैं। इट्स जस्ट द पर्सपेक्टिव एंड द वे टू हैंडल अ सिनेरियो, दैट्स द ओनली थिंग व्हिच इज अ डिफरेंस। और इफ यू आर कंफर्टेबल विद समबडी हु इज यू नो मोर सीनियर इन एज, आप उनसे बात करिए, बट डोंट कीप समथिंग इन योर हार्ट एंड हार्ट लाइक दैट, बट ओपन अप बिफोर आपका। ऐसा है कि इस इंटरव्यू का अपॉर्चुनिटी को द बेस्ट अपॉर्चुनिटी बनाना है, और कुछ भी ऐसा किताब में ट्रिक है उसे छोड़ना नहीं है, सब की तैयारी होके जानी चाहिए। तो उसके लिए आप अपने आप को आज तक अगर रोक के रखे हो तो और खोल दो, ओपन अप एंड लेट द अदर साइड कम, एंड जो नहीं किया है वही करेंगे तो कुछ नया होगा, वही करते रहेंगे तो आंसर भी वही रहेगा, वही नंबर नाम नहीं आएगा आगे, हमेशा वहां तक पहुंचे, वहां तक पहुंचे। when you wanted things to, winners do things differently. That is what I'm trying to say. So don't stop yourself from uh, walking that extra mile. टाइम हमारे पास लिमिटेड ही है, यू नो द टाइम, अगर आपका जो भी डेट आया है।
21st
Okay,
February.
so हाँ, so then coming to the we will have our interaction session once the recording gets over, and off the stream we will have our so then comes to uh, China's dam, and we spoke about it. And this AI summit, AI is something which I think everybody will be asked, especially governance through app, governance through mobile apps. ये एक नए तरीके का अप्रोच हो रखा है, स्पेशली इन ए कंट्री लाइक इंडिया, जहां हम अपना टेक्नोलॉजी प्रोग्रेस दिखा रहे हैं कि डे टू डे अफेयर में हम लोग ऐप यूज करके गवर्नेंस यूज कर रहे हैं। अगर आपके कोई जानकार होंगे भी सिविल एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन में, वो बताएंगे आपको डेली इवनिंग को उनको रिपोर्ट करना पड़ता है, एक डैशबोर्ड है, उस डैशबोर्ड में रिपोर्टिंग होती है कि सारा मेट्रिक्स है जो भी होता है, और वीडियो कॉन्फ्रेंसिंग टूल यूज की जाती है टू रीच आउट टू एवरी डिपार्टमेंट एवरीवेयर। बहुत सारा चीज टेक्नोलॉजिकली अपग्रेड हो चुका है। इफ यू आर नॉट वेल कन्वर्सेंट विथ इट, आपको ट्रेनिंग दी जाती है इन सब चीजों के लिए। एंड वो जमाना चला गया है कि जब वी यूज टू ब्लेम कि कि टेक्नोलॉजी को कैसे इंटीग्रेट करेंगे गवर्नेंस में। इंडिया लीडिंग है इन सब चीजों में। Where it comes to health record and other part of it, yes, ये हो रहा है, there are certain challenges, but digital challenges. But when it comes to digital India, आपको आप अब it is not limited to a technical profile. Digital India इस सिटीजन के लिए है, तो आप एक प्रिपरेशन खाली डिजिटल इंडिया में कितने सारे आपके सर्विसेज हैं, कितने सारे आपके अप्रोचेस है, वो आप एक आधा घंटा लगा के सर्च करके रखिए, किस किस सेक्टर में कैसे इंसान को क्या क्या मुहैया होता है डिजिटल से ही। मतलब आपको अगर कंप्लेन करनी है, जस्टिस, एनीथिंग, एनी सर्विसेज, पब्लिक सर्विस में, लॉ एंड ऑर्डर, मैंने हाउ डिजिटल इंडिया इज गिविंग दैट सर्विस टू ईच इंडिविजुअल सिटीजन, वो आप एक नोट बना के रखिए, क्योंकि वो ही है जो आपको लगेगा कि इंडिया अगर डेवलप किया है। द क्वेश्चन विल बी वेरी कॉमन, एक आध कॉमन क्वेश्चन यही होता है कि क्या कर लिया 100 साल में इंडिया में। आज भी तो लड़ाई झगड़े हो रहे हैं, आज भी तो वी आर डिवाइडेड, we have challenges of poverty, we have challenges of homelessness, we have challenges of girl education, we have challenges of dowry, we have challenges of all this thing, and every day news are talking about the same thing. In fact, अगर आप 100 साल पहले क्या एक ऐसे विवेकानंद जी के खोल के पढ़ेंगे, यू विल रियलाइज एज इफ कि वो आज की बात कर रहे हैं, नथिंग एज चेंज। ऐसा करके अगर अगर क्वेश्चन पूछ देंगे, हाँ आप भी बोलेगा हाँ यार यार बात तो बिल्कुल सही है, कुछ भी नहीं बदला। लेकिन आपको बोलना पड़ेगा बदलाव के। देन यू टॉक ऑफ डिजिटल गवर्नेंस, जस्टिस, देन यू टॉक ऑफ इसरो, यू टॉक ऑफ टेक्नोलॉजी इंटीग्रेशन, 1.4 बिलियन लोगों को अपना आइडेंटिटी मिलना। कितने लोगों को याद रहता है 100 साल पहले कौन कौन थे, नहीं थे, लेकिन आज हर आदमी अपने नाम का एक किताब लिख सकता है। यू विल चेंज द माइंडसेट, सामने वाले का मुंह बंद हो जाए। मैं नहीं कह रहा हूँ अक्षय कुमार बनने का मूवी का, नॉट लाइक दैट वे, बट आई टू टेल यू कि सर्टेन थिंग्स आप अपने नोट्स बना के रख सकते हैं। आप बोल सकते हैं कि मैं इस गांव से आता हूँ, यहाँ पे कैसे बदलाव हो गया, कि आप, मैं इस कॉलेज में मैंने पढ़ाई किया था, कि आज कॉलेज में कैसे हो। वो आपका पर्सपेक्टिव, वो आप उस पर बोल सकते हैं। बट बाकी पूरा देश में क्या हो रहा है वो तो बड़े लोग ही बोलेंगे, जब आप बन जाओगे मिनिस्टर, सेक्रेटरी वगैरह, तब आप बोल पाओगे। बट आई डोंट नो आप किस चीज के बारे में बोल सकते हो, अपने कॉलेज के बारे में बोल सकते हो, अपने गांव के बारे में बोल सकते हो, अपने स्टेट का आपने जो जो सर्विसेज ली है उसके बारे में बोल सकते हो, या आप अगर एग्जिस्टिंग सिविल सर्वेंट हो इन सम सर्विस, वहां पे आपने क्या देखा है, दैट काइंड ऑफ ट्रेनिंग, द काइंड ऑफ सिचुएशन, हाउ इंडिया इज हैंडलिंग मिलेनियल्स, हाउ इंडिया इज डूइंग माइग्रेशन एट वेरियस लेवल। बहुत सारी चीजें हैं जो आपके साथ जुड़ी हैं, आपके जगह से जुड़ी हैं, तो उसका इंप्रेशन आपको आएगा ही। और हमारे इंडिया में तो ऐसे ही हम डाइवर्स नेशन है, जैसे ही आप आओगे, कहाँ से बोलेगा, यूपी से हूँ। अच्छा अच्छा, महाकुंभ चल रहा है ना यूपी में, बताओ। वो बोलेगा नहीं सर, मैं बिल्कुल प्रयागराज से नहीं हूँ सर, मैं बहुत दूर गोरखपुर साइड में, हमारा यहाँ पे कुछ महाकुंभ नहीं है। नहीं नहीं नहीं, यूपी से अब तो बोलना ही पड़ेगा। सिमिलरली अगर कोई मलयाली आ जाएगा तो उसको सीधा पूछ लेंगे केरला के बारे में, हाँ भाई बताओ, व्हाट इज हैपनिंग इन द रबर प्लांटेशन। These are all mindset built questions. बोले नो सर, आई हैव नेवर सीन रबर प्लांटेशन इन माय लाइफ, बट हम तो पढ़ते हैं केरला में रबर प्लांटेशन और कोकोनट प्लांटेशन। He has to answer them. So like that, there are certain things which comes with your, you know, region and places. तो आपको उसके बारे में भी थोड़ी सी, you are anyways the brand ambassador of it. You like it or you don't like it. So you need to prepare on that. So we have spoken PM podcast. Also we have spoken. And Mahakumbh, I did speak on the part of logistical and that part. Similarly, all this development, work-life balance, also, you can have your own opinion. If you have your own genuine opinion, please back it with some fact, your own experience or something. Voter ID to Aadhaar card, this was also being going on. So on data privacy. This is very important. Israel and Hamas peace deal, especially अभी जो जाने वाले हैं, और ये रहने वाला, ये टॉपिक और बिल्डअप करेगा अंटिल यूक्रेन का सिचुएशन, ऑल दैट। दीज आर द टॉपिक्स व्हिच हैव बीन कंसर्निंग सिंस इनका जो अक्टूबर 7 से अटैक हुआ था। सो दिस इज समथिंग यू नीड टू प्रिपेयर, यू अंडरस्टैंड द कॉन्टेक्स्ट, व्हाट इज इजराइल्स earlier historical scenario, what India is doing, why India is suddenly so open and all that thing. नॉन अलाइंड मूवमेंट है भी कि नहीं, इंडिया भूल गया है नॉन अलाइनमेंट। प्राइम मिनिस्टर सेज वी आर नॉट नॉन अलाइंड, तो our prime minister doesn't say we are non-aligned. He says that we have an opinion. We are not aligned to anybody's opinion. We have our own opinion. So you need to see and understand the changes in stances. So I think we have another 1 minute to close the session today, and I just would take some time on the sessions which I do under my personal mentoring session. So first session will be on the personality analysis, which I think I'll share my calendar and we can usually discuss on a time to be there. And then once you share your DAF, I will help you build up with your DAF and क्रिएट सर्टन ये आपने भी किया होगा, बट जनरली वो जो 100 वर्ड्स वाला प्रैक्टिस मैंने आपको कहा वो हम शुरू कर सकते हैं. देन इंटरव्यू ओरिएंटेशन. नाउ इट इज विथ रेस्पेक्ट टू योर डैक, और बाकी आपको नॉलेज बहुत जगह से मिलेगी, ऐसे यूट्यूब से और बहुत ही और भी सोर्सेज. डू कीप योर आईज एंड ईयर ओपन अबाउट इट. Current affair brush up, these kind of perspective matter session basically. Speak out session, तो एक बार आप जब हम बात करेंगे, then as I mentioned that your 30 minutes is not just 30 minutes of this life. पूरी जिंदगी का आपका निचोड़ आपको यू मेक्स योर 30 minutes. So अगर आपके ऐसे कोई challenges है जो आपको लगता है कि you are stuck up emotionally and things, we can figure out how we can manage those things. Things like expressing themselves. So this is about the personal mentoring program. Even to be part of that, there is a link which is there in the YouTube description as well. It's a Google form, and then I'll connect over the WhatsApp. Basically WhatsApp is the bridge, and online hai to Google Meet and Zoom. These are the bridges only. Google Meet would be the bridge. So with this, thank you for watching today's session. So we'll catch up on the next Friday. Which is 24th of January for the next perspective matter session. So जिनका अभी है session next Monday से, all the best. Just be yourself, and आप repeat attempter हो, first attempter हो, जो भी हो, you have to enjoy that particular moment. So बहुत लोगों की सुनिए, सबकी करिए अपनी, and be yourself. All the best. Thank you.